Thank you, Ron, and of course, a huge, huge thank you to all the panelists. Thank you, Kelly, Diana, Chris, Shelley, and Raoul. That was absolutely amazing. The next portion of our conference is designed to highlight the incredible work done by some fantastic science communicators. Now, first spotlight talk is going to be given by Kirsten Banks. Kirsten is a science communicator and astrophysicist at the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. She's passionate about space, Aboriginal astronomy, and sharing her love for the cosmos with the world. Kirsten, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for introducing me, Covey. It's so humbling to be invited onto this conference to talk about all about SciComm. It's fantastic because SciComm is my life, basically. So let me introduce myself for those who may not know me or may not have heard of me before. My name is Astro Kirsten. Just by the way, it is 6:30 in the morning where I am in Australia. The sun is just starting to rise. So we'll see how the brain works. The cognitive ability of my brain is not going so well this morning, but we'll get there. My name is Kirsten Banks, or Astro Kirsten, as you may know me on all the social medias. I'm an astrophysicist and science communicator, and I've always had a passion for the skies. When I was in primary school, I actually wanted to be a meteorologist. So imagine just smaller Kirsten at 3 years old saying in kindergarten, I want to be a meteorologist. And apparently I knew what that word meant because I wanted to learn more about the weather and the sky. And I was fascinated by storms and tornadoes. I would watch Storm Watch on National Geographic. But then in high school, the defining moment for me was in about year 9 or year 10, so I was about 15 years old. My science teachers took my entire year group on an excursion to go see this documentary about the Hubble Space Telescope. I'm sure we have all seen a beautiful photo of Hubble, or a photo taken by Hubble at least once in our lifetimes, because it is just gorgeous. So I was sitting there watching this huge screen with these one-size-fits-none, honestly, glasses slipping off my face for this 3D movie, and I was just inspired by the mystery of our universe, and I needed to learn more about space. And that's what kind of led me towards being an astrophysicist. But funnily enough, I hated public speaking. I was terrified of public speaking when I was in primary school and high school. I would shake, I would sweat, I would just not be comfortable at all. But my science communication journey started when I decided to get a job at Sydney Observatory, which is this museum in Sydney. That it's not a working observatory. It stopped working as a functioning observatory in the 1980s and was a museum ever since. So I got a job there in my first year of university, and turns out I have a knack for science communication, and I really, really enjoyed talking about space and astronomy with anyone and everyone who was willing to listen. So that's where my science communication journey started. And from there, I started to get a lot more opportunities. So while working at Sydney Observatory, I actually got on an episode of Play School. It's awesome. For those who may not know Play School, it's this children's show in Australia that every single child watches when they're growing up. Every single one. So I got an episode on Play School. I went through, I think, the diamond door or the diamond window. Wanted to go through the round window. Not going to lie, it looks like a telescope, but you get the window you get when you go on Play School. But from there, I was just getting more and more opportunities. And my outlook in life is to just follow these opportunities and see where it leads. And so far, it's led me to here, which I'm really happy to be here and to talk to you guys about my SciComm journey. So from these opportunities, I've also gone to do mostly school talks. So I love talking at schools, especially primary schools and high schools, because talking to children is so important. Because that was the moment when I found my calling and my passion for the universe. You know, we're so curious when we're younger that we need to be open to what we want to learn about. So I love talking at schools. I also do lots of public talks as well, conferences like what we're doing right now, and a little bit of radio and TV. It's lots and lots of fun. But all of that changed in 2020. Everything got flown out the window, and suddenly we weren't allowed to go anywhere. I couldn't go to schools. The schools shut down. I couldn't go to public talks. They were all cancelled or moved online, which it was difficult, right? We've all been there. We've all had to move online. We've all had to change the way that we live so drastically because of this global pandemic that we are encountering and still battling through today. So I had this itch. I still had this SciComm itch, and I had to do something, but I couldn't do what I used to do because of those limitations. I couldn't go to schools. I couldn't go to public talks. I couldn't do that. But then I found this app called TikTok, and I decided, mostly out of boredom, that I wanted to go and try TikTok. So I joined TikTok actually about a year ago, a year and a few days ago. And I noticed when I was watching through TikTok and just scrolling, checking out what's going on, that there wasn't a lot of science content or space content on TikTok. It was just, people lip syncing to common songs and popular songs, or doing dances for, can't believe I just did that on a live conference, but here we are. But, people were dancing to popular songs, and that was mostly what TikTok was. There wasn't a lot about, science. So I decided to change that. I wanted to change this and bring more science to TikTok. But it was going to be a challenge, because on TikTok, for those who may not be on the platform, which if you're not on TikTok, stay that way. It is a black hole of your productivity, depending on how you use it. But TikTok, when you post a video on TikTok, you are limited to 60 seconds. Now, I'm an astrophysicist. Astrophysics is hard. There are lots of very complex topics within astrophysics and talking about the universe. How on earth was I going to squish this huge amount of knowledge and this huge amount of information into just 60 seconds? So it posed this challenge to me to try and change the way that I do SciComm. So I realized that I had to be much more fluid with my science communication. And I tell you what, I thought I understood how to do science communication. I thought I understood how to engage an audience for 90 minutes on a tour at the observatory. I thought I knew how to engage children in a 60-minute period of time for a lesson. Boy, was I under a false sense of security, because that all changed in 2020 with TikTok. Because the thing is, people's attention spans are so short. So even if I were to make a video for 60 seconds explaining the cosmic microwave background radiation, it may not perform well because it goes for way too long. This short, sharp content is what does well on TikTok. And so what I did is I just kind of tried different things. When I joined TikTok, there was no blueprint. There was no science content, right? So there was no blueprint. There was nothing to follow and nothing to copy or gain inspiration from. So what I did is just tried a few different things, tried a few different topics, tried a few different ways of introducing those topics, tried a few different ways of even just telling information and giving information without even talking. So one of my favorite videos that I'm so proud of over the last year is this video I made. It was 15 seconds long. 15 seconds. Didn't speak at all. All I did was held up my iPad with different planets on it and spun around to show the different speeds at which the planets in our solar system rotate. So you start with Mercury going very slow, Venus going slow but backwards, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. But then I think this was the part that really, what I attribute my success in 2022 is for Uranus. The tilt of Uranus is about 90 degrees. So what I did is I took my iPad, I got down on the floor, and I rolled around on the floor, pretending to be Uranus. So whenever I'm asked what would I attribute my success to, I cannot speak. Success, that's the word. What can I attribute my success to? And that is rolling on the floor, pretending to be Uranus. It's quite the conversation starter. But here's what I've learned so far with making these videos. What I've learned so far is that people have really short attention spans. So the shorter the video, the better it performs, and the more that people see it, and the more that people get inspired by space. Whether they're young kids on the platform and they're getting inspired by space for the first time, or if they're part of the older generation who have lost touch with their curiosity with space, then they are reignited and excited once again to learn about space and astronomy, which is just, I love both ends of that spectrum. things to do as well is to try and have fun with your science communication. If you're having fun and that comes through off the screen, people are going to enjoy it. But here's a thing to remember as well. Keep in mind that you're not going to please everybody. So TikTok is quite a global platform. If I have a look at my analytics, most of my followers are from the US, which the US use imperial measurements instead of metric. So with every single video that I make, to make it accessible to everyone, is not only do I include distances in kilometers, I also include distances in miles. It's speed in kilometers per second, speed in miles per second. Okay, making it accessible for everyone so that everyone can understand it and everyone has it in a language that they can understand. But the thing is, the final things I want to bring to you guys is that we need to be more fluid with our SciComm. We need to be more fluid with how we promote and communicate science to the public, because the way that we consume content, and if 2020 is any example of this, the way that we consume content is changing so much. So if we keep doing the same thing, we're going to get left behind. And society needs us. We need science communicators to keep inspiring the next generation and to keep inspiring the current generation too. So thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to see more space content on your TikTok, follow me at AstroKirsten and I will see you there.
I was getting so close to finally opening a TikTok account. And I saw your videos and I saw Eloise's videos and I kept kind of holding back. And you saying now that it's a black hole for productivity, you might have convinced me. I'm opening a TikTok account tomorrow. Absolutely.
Excellent. Join the space fam on TikTok. It's lots of fun.
I definitely will. And I have to say that your comment about going through the diamond window absolutely took me back to my play school days. Thank you so much, Kirsten, for speaking to us and for waking up so early to share your story and to share your insights. This has been really great. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Our next speaker for the evening is the incredibly talented Cathrin Machin. Kat is a deep space artist and science communicator extraordinaire who is devoted to sharing her love for the stars. And honestly, her artwork leaves me speechless. So I think I'm going to just have to leave the talking to you, Kat. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Kobe. It's great to be here, guys. And thank you for taking the time to watch this. As I'll just give you a very quick rundown of myself. I've decided that I'm not really going to do much on me. I'm going to focus on teaching you guys how to be an absolute badass and how to dominate social media. So I'm the world's highest crowdfunded painter. I work with space authorities to communicate science. And I've been working with companies like the Discovery Channel and everyone, including leading rocket companies. Anyway, so I want to tell you a story, and it's where we start, which is the importance of Cycom. Behind me is a photo I took of an amazing monolithic sacred rock in Australia called Uluru. And the reason why Cycom is so important is because, people are becoming more and more disconnected from the stars. I was there 2 years ago, and we had this event where we all sat around in tables, dining under the stars. And at some point, they turn all the lights out, and you could see the full stars. Now, Uluru is an incredibly remote area, very, very dark, and you could see so many stars. I know, if you've ever been out either camping or you're lucky enough to live somewhere where it's very, very dark, it's incredible how many stars. In a city, you don't really get to see that. And a guy came up to me as I was taking photos of the night sky, and he said, "Excuse me, ma'am, what is that?" He was pointing to the Milky Way. He was about 70 years old, and he'd never seen the Milky Way. And the thing that shocked me is I stood back and I had this realization that here is someone 70 years ago, the light pollution was nowhere near the level it is today. But we face this challenge that kids today will be born, will live and die, and will have never seen the stars. The stars are part of our heritage, guys. Doesn't matter where you come from in the world. All of human race has sat around campfires looking up at the stars, telling stories about where we come. And as light pollution encroaches day by day, it gets brighter and drowns out the stars until there is nothing left. So I really want to talk about how you guys can get into it. I just want to quickly share some of the stuff that I've been doing, so you have an idea of the artwork that I create. So I create paintings sort of like this in a way to really inspire people. Anyway, on to the talk. How to start in Cycoms and dominate social media. I hope you guys, I'm just going to go as quickly as possible. So number one, we're going to start with the basics. All right, guys, finding your purpose, but also your niche. My purpose is to connect people to the stars. And, your purpose might be to help people get into the actual education side. Some people's might be to encourage people, to connect with other people around the world. Some people are just fascinated with the survival of the human race. But whatever it is, the thread of your excitement, you need to have the thing that gets you out of bed every day, and also that your audience can connect with. Number two, and I know this sounds really basic, but is be okay with showing your face. Humans need human connection, and it feels weird when you start getting up on camera and talking and all of that stuff. And it's okay, because you know what? It's just unfamiliar when it starts. I promise you, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Number three, I've got create consistent and great content. Now, I know that sounds really obvious, but people like to follow people where they know what they're getting. They know what they're going to be filling their feed with. So, find a thing that you're really enjoying and just stick with it. Try and find iterations. So whether it's, for instance, Kirsten does amazing TikToks on explaining different things in astrophysics, cosmology, and all of those different areas of science. So find something consistent. And as far as creating great content, look for, look at other accounts that are doing really well. They're out there. There are so many that you can get hold of. Gary Vee always talks about this amazing method called the 10-10 rule, right? Create 10 pieces of content, but spend 10 hours on a platform. Once you've done that, you are almost guaranteed to understand how to produce certain things and what does well and what doesn't work well. But be conscious and aware as you go through things. If you're on TikTok, for instance, and you're scrolling by, take a mental note, why have I scrolled past this thing? Or why has this stuck me? Find the essence of each platform. Okay, so another thing is timing your posts well, depending on where you are aiming for. So what you need to do is, if you're, for instance, focusing on a US market and it's a platform like Reddit, Reddit has a long life cycle that spans 24 hours. So you want to be posting very early in the morning in New York time so that you get the full time frame throughout the day. If you're in Instagram, people are posting and going on Instagram in the very early mornings when they get out of bed. So depending on what country you're targeting, do AM or when they get home from work, 5 or 6 p.m., depending on your locality, right? And next thing, it's obvious, right? But be social, guys. Get in there, chat, respond to comments. The whole point of it being called social media is because it's meant to be social. It's not a one-way stream. It's meant to be two ways. Create the sense of community, because this is all about bringing people together. And the thing is that my purpose is to bring people closer to the stars, but I can't do it alone. In fact, none of them, everybody in this stream, we all need you guys to get involved. This isn't a one-man army or a 10-man army. This isn't something that we can solve with just 30 people. We need everybody watching to start communicating science, as long as it's what you're passionate about, of course. All right, okay, so number two, I'm going to go talking about tips on going viral. I know this is a bit of a black box and it depends on what platform you're on. Okay, so number one, I'm going to be talking about Instagram, okay, and creating collaborations. It's very difficult. As time goes on throughout a social media platform, it becomes harder and harder to create content that just organically takes off. And that's why I really recommend creating collaborations with different people. Get someone, if you're creating a page, get someone who's got a similar page, maybe in a different area. So for instance, I'm a space artist. I'll work with astrophotographers, or I might work with science news companies or something like that. Pages that are maybe similar size or a little bigger or a little smaller. And we will help share and promote each other's content. And it's literally a case of, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing. I wanted to ask, could I share some of your content? Would you share some of mine? Let's work together to spread the news of what we're going to do. And that's a really, really amazing way to grow your audience, because ultimately, even if you have the world's best message, it's not going to go anywhere if you can't get it out to the people. So that's why it's really important to collaborate. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is Reels on Instagram. I actually don't have this feature yet, but for those that do, it is Instagram's favorite thing. If you create a Reel, and sometimes you can create your TikToks and just post them onto Reels, it allows, Instagram will give you favorability of content, and it will put it in front of so many more people. And imagine the amount of people that you can reach with that type of content. And the other thing is Instagram pods. It's a little bit like a collaboration, but instead of just having a one-on-one, often you can create, you can ask around or create your own group of people that help support or even give you feedback on your content. We call them Instagram pods. I'm sure everyone has a slightly different name for it. Okay, quickly on to Twitter. Twitter is all about creating reshareable content. Now, generally speaking, people like to share things that make them inspired, that ultimately, and I know this sounds strange, but people want to share content that will make them look good. Of course, because it's things that they're interested in, or, things that make them smile, like Bernie Sanders in mittens. Thanks, Ron. It's like, make stuff that really engages people. With Twitter, I found that when you're writing the captions, less is more. If you can get it out in 10 words instead of 20, cut it down, make it so it's instant. Creating, and one thing I think is really important with Twitter is images. Although it's a text-based platform, we are, as humans, we love and we gravitate to images, but Twitter does not allow you to choose how you crop it. So always crop it, add some filters, make it look beautiful. But most importantly with Twitter, I would say more than any platform, it is the most social platform. You should be interacting. You should be creating and having engaging conversations. And honestly, that is the best way to create, and go viral on Twitter. But of course, it's all well and good going viral on Twitter. If your feed looks very scattered, when people do eventually come to your page, your channel to decide whether they want to follow you, if it's all over the place, often they choose not to follow. So keep some level of consistency, or at least, for instance, as I'm a space artist, I make sure that there's plenty, I'm regularly posting space art. So even if I've got a few posts that aren't that, people know what they're getting because they can see it within the stuff. The next thing is Facebook. I don't spend a great deal on Facebook. I have a big community there, but it's always, always favorable for videos. And ironically, the best videos that go well on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook happen to be TikTok videos, because the formula for TikTok works on every single platform. So even though, it does take time to get used to TikTok, I highly recommend it. At first, it might seem a bit, oh God, what's going on? But as the algorithm learns about what kind of specific things you're into, it delivers content that suits you. So TikTok, creating the viral video formula. So as Kirsten already said, shorter is better. Keep it succinct and to the point. Creating excitement or some suspense is absolutely critical really early on. And that could just be done by a text caption or a title saying, hey, wait till you see the end. For instance, I might do a process video where I show all the different steps, and then we'll have a dramatic pause and then the reveal. And often just adding a dramatic pause before the reveal creates that ta-da moment. And that's kind of actually a perfect way of making sure that your TikToks go viral. I'm really fortunate that I've got a video that's been viewed by over 1.2 million people, which absolutely blows my mind that we can get space content in front of that many people. It's incredible. And the interesting thing about TikTok is you can link your Instagram account to it. And I've actually grown my Instagram account more through TikTok than almost any other platform. So it does pay to go out there. Now, here's the thing with TikTok. Don't expect to go viral. I went through Kirsten's feed just before I came on here. Her first video has about 600 views. Do not feel like you have to get thousands. when you start. It absolutely grows and builds over time. So, and just to make a point, 2 videos ago, Kirsten did a talk on this cosmic microwave background, and that has seen over 160,000 views. It takes time, just be consistent and just keep at it. Now, lastly, I just want to quickly touch on Reddit. It is an interesting platform, but it is ultimately dominated by good headlines and good timing and viral content. I always recommend, and I know this sounds strange, but having curiosity and like numbers listed in the header is a key way to make sure it goes well. Anyway, I'm going to close off now as I've gone through everything. I've tried to do it as quickly as possible. There is so much more content. But if you guys have any specific questions, I would be happy to answer them. And hopefully this helps. And actually, I think those just 3 last things I do want to say, Firstly, don't be scared of messing up. It is required. Just view them as lessons and, not mistakes. This is part of a journey. Number 2, don't stop yourself doing SciComs because someone else is doing it. And, maybe you don't have, specific levels of education. Obviously, always make sure you fact check. But ultimately, sometimes, I'm an artist. I studied engineering, not science as such. But there's room for everybody. Sometimes the message that you might bring might land better than someone else who, is more in the academic side of things. There is room for everyone. And the third thing, and I already said this, don't expect to go viral immediately. It takes time. It takes persistence. It will pay off. And just give yourself permission to give it a go, because I promise you it's so, so rewarding. Thank you so much, guys. I really hope you enjoyed that.
No, I enjoyed it. I'm sure everybody at home did as well. That was just phenomenal. And honestly, I took a couple of notes there myself. Something that I think it's so amazing because, people are always seeing other people succeeding on social media, and they never really have, a mentor or somebody they can look to in the previous generation and say, hey, how did you do that? How did you manage that? And I really appreciate you actually, laying down a simple set of rules for people to follow, some advice, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it, Kobe.
Thank you. All right, our final spotlight talk is going to be given by Lee Giat, who I had the pleasure of meeting with Ron, actually at the launch of Space IL's first buried ship mission in Cape Canaveral a couple of years ago. Now, Lee is a filmmaker, a pilot, astronomer, brilliant science communicator who is soon going to embark on a journey to bring science to communities all around Central and South America. But I'll let him tell you about that. Lee, take it away.
Hey, Kobe. First of all, thank you for having me. And it's such an honor to be on a panel with such amazing people in SciComm as well, and that are doing it in amazing ways that, is pretty new. TikTok is not that old. So the fact that, everyone's figuring it out and I guess communicating science in such a brilliant way so quickly is truly inspiring. So yeah, and I did meet Kobe and Ron recently. Well, I guess that was 2019, but that was a lot of fun. So thank you for having me. I'm actually Israeli, so this is a really cool kind of full circle for me. I want to talk a little bit about how I got into science communication, because that was never really my intention growing up. And I guess what I've learned throughout that process doing all these million different things. So I do have a PowerPoint. I think Ron is controlling it. So Ron, if you want to put that up, I just shared my screen. There we go. Yeah. So so I want to talk a little bit about how I got into SciComm and how there we go, and a little bit about how well, just the things that I'm doing nowadays and how that kind of ties in. So I actually grew up, and my first real love and passion was filmmaking. And I continued to make short films and all that sort of stuff. These were some of the first that I've ever made. This was in 2005. That's me and my little brother. And I've been making short films, and I've always loved being creative and experimenting with the camera. You can see that UFO there is in the foreground, making it look bigger. It's just a piece of paper that I printed out. And obviously doing a low angle of my brother there makes him look 10 feet tall. So all that sort of stuff was fun. And, I think every kid really, gets into it nowadays. It's more TikTok and YouTubers and stuff like that. And it's fun to see everybody, experiment when they're younger and see where it takes them. So that was kind of my thing, but it stuck with me. I've always been into film. But something that's been a constant in my life too is aviation. My dad was a flight instructor with over 25,000 hours, and he taught me how to fly since I was a baby. And I learned to drive before I learned to fly. And I continue to fly. I've flown every week since I became a private pilot, was it now, like 5 years ago? And my dad actually did a lot of really cool stuff in his career. He in the later years in the most recent years, he's been an aid relief pilot for the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, a lot of the Caribbean countries, and a little bit of South America too, for things like hurricanes. I grew up in Miami. That's where he lives, and I'm here in Jacksonville for school and for work, which is a little bit more north of Miami. But we know hurricanes. We know how devastating it could be, how it can hurt your economy, and all that sort of stuff. But I've been able to join him on some of these flights to the Bahamas, to Puerto Rico, to Cuba, just to see what's going on. And you see how much of a lack of infrastructure there is, especially for the young ones, education, the very foundation of what a person is going to be. And so that stuck with me, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But my role in science and in space actually came from video production. I always thought, I was a creative person, and that's where I was going to stick, and that's it. I failed algebra in high school. I failed calculus. I was talking to Ron about this, actually. I failed calculus 9 times throughout college, and I might have the world record. I didn't know that there was a place for me in science communication. And I like to think of science communication as that middle man between, or woman, that middle section between the experts and the professors. If you've ever had a professor or a teacher that you just can't understand because they're so advanced in their respective fields, and then people that don't know anything, all the way up, down to flat earthers. And so, science communication is that bridge to help everybody understand what's going on in the realms of STEM. And so I did a video production story. I was in a TV production club in high school, and I did a story on this observatory, specifically on that lady right there. Her name is Helen Tavera. She is an astronomer with Sophia. It's an aircraft. It's a modified, I think it's a 747. It's an observatory. It's called the Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. And she's flown on that multiple times, and now she's an astronomy teacher. She speaks like 1 million languages, an incredible inspiration, and one of the most intelligent people I've ever met. And after I filmed a little news piece, at that observatory, this small, humble observatory in South Florida, I decided to come back and volunteer. And she showed me Jupiter through the tree line, that dot right there, in the sky. And I was blown away. And then I saw it through a telescope, and I got hooked. So I became an amateur astronomer. A few years later, after volunteering for a number of years, she certified me to continue teaching astronomy through the NASA Night Sky Network, which is a network of observatories that promote science communication. And I ended up teaching and doing presentations at the Brian Gooding Planetarium at the Museum of Science and History throughout college. And that it's the largest planetarium in the world that is a single lens planetarium, meaning it's one big projector. It's not like it's not like a ball with holes cut out of it. It's an actual video projector. So I made videos that were formatted for the planetarium, which was really cool. And it was a lot of fun kind of blending that craft of video and space. I also got to speak at schools and do all that sort of stuff. But that didn't really stop there. While I was in college, I ended up applying for a video contest called the Student Astronaut Contest, hosted by one of the most legendary science communicators of our generation, Emily Calandrelli. And I ended up winning that contest and going to Russia to train like a cosmonaut with her and for her TV show, Exploration Outer Space. This was in 2018. And along with doing all the amazing things that you can do in Star City, Russia, centrifuge, learning how to fly a Soyuz, trying on the spacesuits and eating astronaut food and all that sort of stuff. It was really cool to see, real TV production and real science communication happening on a nationwide and I guess worldwide basis. And it was awesome to be a part of it. And so these days,
Rub it in.
I actually run a company called, I think Ron was trying to pop in there. Ron
I said,
is,
rub it in, rub it in, rub it in.
he was a finalist, and I kicked his butt.
Yeah,
he was a finalist to win that opportunity. But yeah, he'll go next time. Or I'll take him myself if we have to. Eventually, I'll save up. But I run a company called Flying Ostrich Media. That's my day job. We film a lot of commercials and all that sort of stuff, but we're shifting more toward aerospace specific videography. So we film a lot of corporate stuff for aerospace companies in STEM, and also sci-fi short films, with the goal for the company to make the first feature film on the surface of the moon. So some of you may notice that moon guy there with the missile in his eye. That is actually the first ever sci-fi movie ever created by George Millet. It's a French film called A Trip to the Moon, created in 1902. And one of the major goals, I mean, as major as it can get, goals for my personal goal for this company is to make that movie on the surface of the moon about 100 years after it was created. I mean, that's probably the coolest way to honor science fiction, and taking it to the next level, like making a movie on the surface of the moon in the exact same fashion that it was created in 1902. So that's one of the things that I'm just thinking about logistically with some of my colleagues, and how we're going to do that, depending on what the state of the world is and where technology stands. But the big thing that I'm working on right now with many amazing science communicators and professors and researchers throughout the world is PASSAGE, which stands for Providing Aid in Science for South America's General Education. And actually, so this was initially going to be just a surprise, and just a really cool thing that was going to happen. I never got to show this to my father because he passed away in August in a crash. And this, I guess, was my way of continuing what he started, flying with him throughout Latin America and doing all of these flights, and getting to see that part of the world and want, his ability to help using his passion for aviation, and me kind of taking that on. So he never got to see this PASSAGE project come into fruition. But nevertheless, it's going amazing. I'm super proud of our team, and we're doing so many things in all different aspects of science communication. So what is PASSAGE? PASSAGE is a flight across Latin America. I'll be flying a PA-32 Piper Saratoga plane. It's like a small single-engine cargo plane, and bringing school supplies, STEM education resources, lab equipment, and all that sort of stuff to kids and schools that need it most throughout the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. And we have a GoFundMe up that has a goal of raising $50,000 in these school supplies. That's going to go directly to these schools. And hopefully, if we exceed that goal, we get to bring a fleet of aircraft to do this flight, not just one plane. And so this was kind of my way of combining everything that I love and that I've been able to experience: film, space, and science, and aviation. And so we're making a documentary film to raise awareness for these regions and hopefully get them the help that they need in the decades to come. We are bringing them STEM education resources to help their infrastructure, to help their communities, and to help the future of this part of the planet where science has practically forgotten about them. And inspiring kids to become doctors and pilots and astronauts and agricultural engineers and everything in between. And this is just the start. This is just the work of a few dozen science communicators and seeing how far we can take this and how many people we can help. And so we do have a GoFundMe up. We are almost at our halfway point, and the flight is set to depart in December. And we need your help to raise our $50,000. So after the conference, visit the link is down there. Thank you, Ron, for putting that up. GoFundMe.com/PassageScience. And we also have a website, PassageFlight.org. And there's also a lot of cool, eat those STEM supplies to South America. Thanks, Ron. But we have a lot of awesome rewards that you'll get as well for donating patches, t-shirts, all the way up to joining us at Kennedy Space Center for the documentary premiere with many other science communicators. So definitely check that out. Check out the website. Here is the link right here. And if you want to shoot me a message or have any questions, you can follow me on social media on Instagram and Twitter at AstroDirector. And thank you so much, Covey, again, for hosting this. Thank you to the Ramon Foundation. Thanks, Ron, for taking charge at the StreamYard stuff that not a lot of us understand how it works, but great job as always. And thanks for having me, guys.
Lee, it was an absolute pleasure to have you. I mean, to be honest, your story and the story of this project that you're doing, this Passage project, it's just fantastic. And the moment that I found out about it, all I've been trying to do is to see how I can help. So it really is a privilege, and I feel so lucky to be able to let you share your message. And I really hope that, like you said, that everybody goes afterwards and has a look at the Passage page. And Ron's just chucked the website down here in the scroller. You can see it. Have a look, have a read, and if you can, throw a few dollars Lee's way. This project is going to be phenomenal, and you'll be making a great difference in the world. Lee, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Covey.
All right, we are running a little bit behind time, so I appreciate everybody's patience. We're going to now watch the second half of that video presentation, Why SciComm, and right after that, we will move on to our second panel.
I think it's important because right now we kind of live in a world where we're transformed by our technology, not just rocket launches and living in space. We have astronauts living in space, but also this very device that I'm using to record this video. These things allow for us to not only be more interconnected on this planet, but also advance more as a species through our medicine, through curing diseases. And that's so important and vital to human existence.
I love science because it's like the language of nature, and I love being a science communicator because I get to share my passion, my love, my curiosity of science with others.
You're the ones that have a platform and a voice to expand our knowledge and share that and share our passion and joy with others that might share the same things. They might be interested in science, technology, engineering, arts, math, STEAM, okay? We have that privilege to, spark up that passion in others, and I think that is just such a blessing, and I am truly honored.
My whole life's mission is helping people see the stars. I really want to inspire more people to take an interest, in particular in the stars, because, I feel like the future of the human race is out there in the cosmos. We really need to focus on inspiring the next generation of scientists and all these different people in STEAM and engineers and technologists. Really because I think it's all about helping make life better.
I think science communication is more important now than ever. I think that we're in a critical point in terms of our generation and the next generation in terms of what our next step is. And I think that there's so much of an impact that we can continue to have and leave as long as we have more and more people sharing their passion and continuing the excitement about current missions and new missions so that we can see more and more things accomplished in the STEM industry.
Space field on Instagram and on social media in general, talking about science, talking about space and everything that I was really passionate about. And one of the rewarding things about doing it was from all the people who started following me and told me that they got interested in science thanks to what I shared, and students who decided to get into STEM or go to study aerospace engineering as well. Maybe they were afraid of taking that path before, but then they saw my story and they decided to try as well.
What drew me to science communication is I was really just asked to volunteer and to speak to my old 5th grade class. And it just felt so amazing to tell people about space. The little kids, their eyes lit up, they were asking questions, and it made me feel so surreal, so satisfied. It is so important that I've continued to do it. I left my job at NASA to become a full-time science communicator, a space educator, teaching people about the wonders of space exploration and its importance to us here on Earth.
Science communication is a very important tool for advancement and the development of educational research and the science itself, because it's gonna build new bridge for collaboration at national and international level, which will support future space projects.
So science communication is that bridge between the two extremes to help everybody understand what we're doing here and what we can do with this beautiful thing that is science. The more we get people excited, the quicker we will make discoveries that will change lives forever.
What really got me intrigued was that I was able to take the complex research that, whether it's me or any of the researchers were doing, and bringing that to the public, get them excited about what scientists are excited about, being able to get them curious about what we are curious about space. That really drew me to science communication.
I also love being a science communicator because that imagination that drives the next step also really drives science communication. It's about getting other people inspired and excited about what's going on in science and space. I think science communication is a really important thing for us to focus on as we expand into space, because we need to make sure that all of humanity goes as we do that.
Science communication, in my view, is an integral part of the scientific method itself, as it keeps us all transparent to the public, and it's the public that actually fund it. Good science communication also creates a positive feedback loop for society, in my opinion, as more public interest leads to more pressure on political leaders, which in turn leads to more funding, and with more funding we can actually do more science, which will then benefit society.